On today's episode, we're answering the question, no, we're not, because I'm on the wrong damn outline.
It gets better, Allison. Remember this, when we first starting to collaborate, I was a Dropbox person and you were a Google Drive person. And I didn't use Google Drive for that. I had my Google Drive, but honestly, I didn't use it at all. And for collaborating, Dropbox was not the way to go. You couldn't at the time, and Dropbox has evolved a little bit since this was taking place, I will admit. But at the time, Dropbox, like if I wanted to update something, and this is still true, I'd have to download it, update it, save it, and then you would have to wait a minute and get the copy. Now, if you go into Dropbox and try and like update at the same time when somebody's doing a PowerPoint, as an example, it'll say, Allison's working on this too. And if you want Allison's version, click here. And then you're like making copies of a copy. It's just ridiculous. So we had to find common ground.
What we had to do was figure out what purpose each tool had. So the way we started this, we had a meeting, and I make fun of my husband all the time because he works for the government. They have meetings over the most inane things. They have meetings to plan meetings, by the way. They really do. It really was a thing. And so for me saying, yes, we had a meeting to talk about how we organize our files sounds crazy to me. But it's not, because we both needed to get on the same page. We both needed to come up with a plan that made sense to both of us. And then what we did is we documented the heck out of it. It's really an important step that I think a lot of people miss, and we would have at one point too, but we made sure that not only did it make sense now, but it's going to make sense later, because we have something to refer to. And if we bring someone into our business, like my VA, it now makes sense to my VA because we explained it. It's not just, here's the folder, figure it out.
No, it's organized now. But in the beginning, we even had like different ways of naming stuff. We didn't have the same naming conventions. And that was a thing. Allison is huge on using acronyms. Huge. I have a really bad memory. If you show me an acronym, unless it's only 3 letters, good freaking luck. Like, I'm not going to remember it ever.
And Jenny likes to have file names that are so long they don't fit on the screen, which is for some reason is a huge pet peeve of mine.
You love it.
I don't. So how do we handle that? Right? Okay. So if I was going to have a document that was an outline for this episode, it would literally be EP 104 outline. Now, Jenny knows what that means because we have this convention now, but if you didn't know what that was, you would have no idea. Well, Jenny's preferred way to title things would be like EP 104, how to organize your whole business with a partner, outline draft 1.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
9. Duh. Yeah, it's like literally, but there's no mistaking it, right? And that's the way I prefer it. I don't know. Maybe it's my background. I have no idea.
The thing is here, neither one of us are wrong.
No, we're not.
It's a difference of working. And so this actually is going to call back to communication, because we're joking about this now, but I'm sure there were times Jenny wanted to throttle me because she's like, where's this file? I'm like, dude, you're looking at it. She's like, no, this is like, a 4-letter acronym. What is that? Well, that's the file. I don't understand.
Oh yeah, that was fun. There were times when I couldn't find anything because we just didn't have the same understanding of things. Allison has given way to a little bit more of my naming convention because she knows that I can't remember acronyms. However, I have shortened my titles substantially to find compromise for Allison so that it doesn't get into that pet peeve zone, right? So there was a real big sort of understanding. We're like, okay. And as you like build stuff out together, it makes sense to have almost like a common language, a way of like a vernacular, a shorthand. And that develops over time as well, makes it easier. But in the beginning, just because of my ability to learn, I need things spelled out. And it needs to be completely spelled out. Like Allison still has moments where she's like, hey, I'm working in the such and such doc and I'm doing this and this and this. And I'm like, what doc? Oh, the SVTABY doc. I'm like, the what now?
I am never that bad.
Yes, you are. You are absolutely that bad. And she's like, the SVTABY doc. And I'm like, the what? And she'll literally have to put a link in to where we're talking, and I'll have to come. I'm like, oh, you mean the thing of the thing of the thing for the okay, now I'm on the same page. And she's just like, why did it take you so damn long? I'm like, that's just my brain.
Well, and so again, this calls back to the communication and understanding your communication style as well as the person you're working with. I am a thought jumper. Okay, so Jenny, oh my gosh, she just rolled her eyes so hard. I will literally be talking about one thing and all of a sudden, with no rhyme or reason to the outside world, have a completely, in theory, unrelated thought. Now, in my head, the 16 connecting steps have been made in a millisecond, but to the rest of the world, it looks like a jump. So we'll be talking about, episode 4, for instance. I don't even know what that one was about, but it'll remind me of something 16 thought steps ahead. And I will instead just say that 16th step instead of giving Jenny the glimpse of steps 1 through 15. So now I know that about myself. And I also know that Jenny needs those 15 steps to understand where I'm going. And so I'll give them to her. I'll be like, hey, while we're talking about this, it made me think about blah, blah, blah.
She
And
creates the
here's my
segue.
thought.
Yeah.
I create the segue for her, and organizing requires the same kind of idea. Okay. So what you can do is choose the tool that you're going to use. Dropbox, Google Drive, we use both. Each file has its own, like each file type, podcast, audio, video, graphics, they live in Dropbox. Outlines that we collaborate on in real time. Actually, I'm going to give us a second.
We need the second.
Because you literally just hit record and I was
You're
like,
what talk?
oh my God, this is going to take forever. We literally haven't even gotten to the introduction of this.
So